Hey everybody, in this video I'm going to talk about the Athens-Clarke County Unified Government, the important people in it, what they do, and where they get their authority. All coming up.
Construction of Athens City Hall on the highest point in downtown was completed in 1904.
The government is an important institution in our lives in so many ways. The government sets taxes, regulates trade, builds infrastructure, and defends our country in times of war. Yeah, it sounds like the government is pretty important.
Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
Wait, it is? Well, it sure is easy to blame when things are going wrong, and it's also easy to ignore and just become part of the background when things are working as they should. So what even is the government? It's so abstract. Let's try to zoom in and really take a look at what we're talking about here. The government is composed of three levels: the federal, state, and local level. And there's also an international level, including organizations like the UN and the World Bank and so on. But let's just talk about the first three for now. Okay, so there's three levels of government, and each level is also composed of three parts: a legislative, judicial, and executive branch for each. This video will focus on just the legislative and executive branches of the local government. And there's also the Clarke County School District, which is separate and a different part of our local government. That's a worthy topic to cover in another video. Okay, we have these three branches of the Athens-Clarke County Unified Government here at the local level. So how did they get here? And what did they do? And what do you mean unified? Unified from what? Well, the city of Athens, Georgia, unified with Clarke County on January 14th, 1991.
I, Gwen O'Looney, do swear that I will well and truly perform the duties of Chief Elected Officer of the United Government of the Athens-Clarke County, Georgia.
Most cities in Georgia have both a city level of government and a county level. I guess now we're up to 4 or 5 levels of government now. No, it's just 3. Just 3. Anyway, in Athens, the county and city governments are one thing, united. The unification measure was approved in a 1990 referendum, which was primarily done to consolidate departments and save taxpayer money as a way to make government more efficient. This new government was led by Gwen O'Looney as mayor, a title then called CEO for some reason, and was based on a document called the Charter. The Charter is our local government's founding document. It, in addition to support from the people, is what gives our local government democratic legitimacy. Every power our local government has comes from the Charter. It also sets the terms of office and the salary of elected officials and lots more. The Charter sets up the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Let's start with the legislative branch. In Athens, we have a mayor and commission. The commission votes yes or no on laws and ordinances brought to their attention by the mayor. If the commission votes yes on an ordinance, it becomes law and we've all got to obey it or face the consequences. These new laws go into the Code of Athens-Clarke County.
All my life, I've lived by a code.
So the mayor assigns topics and options to the agenda. The commission can slightly change these options by making a commission-defined option, or CDO, but in general they can only tackle issues if the mayor puts them on the agenda. The mayor is a very important part of the legislative branch. They're sort of like the Speaker of the House at the federal level. It's not really an executive office here in Athens. The mayor crafts a first draft of the yearly budget, sets the agenda, and recommends appointments to the other positions mentioned in the Charter. These are people like the manager, county attorney, and internal auditor. In other words, the mayor recommends people to fill the upper ranks of the executive branch. The executive branch are the people who do all the things our government does. They're the ones who maintain our roads and sidewalks, handle our recycling, put out fires, and run the parks and summer camps, among other things. These people are collectively called staff. They're organized into departments, such as the Department of Transportation and Public Works, Central Services, and many others. Those in a department report to the department head, who in turn reports to the manager.
Hello, I'm Blaine Williams, and I'm manager of the Unified Government of Athens-Clarke County.
Blaine is our current manager, who was promoted from assistant manager in 2016. There are 2 assistant managers who actually divide up the departments between them, being responsible for different ones, but they both report to the manager. The manager is like the president, I guess I'd say. He's the CEO. The manager is a staff person who directs the efforts of the rest of staff. When I first started going to mayor and commission meetings, I didn't know who or what the manager was. He's always there, but he doesn't normally speak unless a commissioner asks him a question. Commissioners kept asking him questions, and I slowly realized that he was really the most powerful person in the room. He hires all the department heads, and through them and the rest of staff, he's the one who runs the city. Now you know what I mean when I talk about staff. I'm talking about the executive branch, from the manager down to the street sweeper. At this point, we can get into the legislative process and how city ordinances become law. Step 1. Staff discovers a situation or an issue that needs to be solved. For example, what we should do about bird scooters or invisible fences for dogs. Staff does the research and comes up with some options. Staff presents these options to the mayor, who puts them on the commission's agenda. The commission hears a report from staff about the situation, and then they discuss the options amongst themselves. This normally occurs at a work session on every second Tuesday of the month. On the third Tuesday of the month, the commission has an agenda-setting session. If the commission is in agreement on the solution to the issue that started all this, they'll place the item on what is called the consent agenda. If the commission is not yet in agreement, the item will remain on the agenda as placed there by the mayor, but under new business, not consent. The last step happens on the first Tuesday of the following month when the commission has a voting session. All items on the consent agenda are passed with one vote. Any remaining items are voted on one at a time. That's it. After an ordinance is passed, staff will begin to implement it, usually pretty quickly after. This process changes somewhat for items that the mayor chooses to assign to a committee of the commission, such as government operations or the legislative review committee. Some items might stay brewing in committee for months until they're ready to enter the steps I listed before. These items would start on step 4, I suppose, but instead of hearing a report from staff, the commission would hear a report from the committee. Okay, that's all I have for now. I hope I've answered your questions about the local government, but if not, please let me know in the comments. I'll make sure to respond. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, could you go ahead and do that now? Hit that red button or click my logo in the corner of the screen. Also, please consider becoming a patron of this channel. There's a link in the description below. Even $1 or $2 a month would be so valuable to help me pay for the social media ads I need to get my videos noticed. You can also like and share. Thanks again.